Invite viewers to post their location and local time. He sits at his kitchen table, that Tuesday morning coffee steaming, not knowing the envelope in his hands will hit harder than a sack of wet cement. The county letterhead looks official enough, thick paper, stiff edges, but the weight of it feels wrong, like it's carrying a secret it doesn't want to tell. He slides a finger under the flap, thinking it's probably some tedious update about road work or maybe a zoning notice. Instead, in stark black type, he reads the words that knock the air from his lungs. The lien on your property has been transferred to Pinarest Development Corporation. 1,200 acres, his grandfather's legacy, cleared by hand, cultivated with decades of sweat gone for a $50,000 obligation he never knew existed. The historians still argue whether bureaucrats invent these rules out of malice or boredom, but either way, it's a loss that feels like a theft. Outside the fields sway in the crisp March air, oblivious to the fact that on paper they no longer belong to him. He calls Catherine Sterling, the HOA president, with a smile like polished chrome and an accent imported from somewhere up north. Her voice over the line is smooth enough to spread on toast. She says words like special assessments and legal procedure as if they're magic spells that can turn someone else's land into her friend's profit. He counters with tax receipts and proof of payment. She counters with vagueness and a tone suggesting he's the village fool. The more he flips through the documents, the stranger they get. Terms like strategic land use optimization and community development priorities litter the pages. Phrases you'd expect in a city planner's fantasy novel, not in a lien notice. He calls Ben Martinez a property lawyer who's seen more shady transfers than a 1920s speakeasy bartender. Ben doesn't laugh. He warns him these guys don't make mistakes, they make moves. The digging begins. First at the courthouse, where the air smells faintly of dust and coffee from a pot last cleaned during the Carter administration. Then in the diner with Mrs. Hayes, whose file of newspaper clippings is thicker than the pancakes. Her hands tremble as she tells him they've done this to others. 80 acres here, 200 there, families blindsided when surveyors showed up unannounced. The mistaken address trick, the hidden notice shuffle, the expedited auction sprint. It's a pattern so consistent it might as well have its own theme song. And Catherine's name keeps showing up, smiling from the fine print. By the time he lays out the evidence across his dining table, organized into neat piles, the story is clear. This isn't incompetence. It's a machine finely tuned to take land from those least able to fight back. And somehow they've decided he's next on the list. He starts tracking every call, every sidelong glance from a stranger parked just a little too long outside his driveway. That same black sedan appears in courthouse lots, coffee shop windows, even once in the rearview mirror on the county road home. Paranoia, maybe. But historians still argue whether paranoia becomes just plain observation when you've got proof in your pocket. The break-in answers that question. He comes home to find the front door ajar, the lock unbroken, as if the intruder had a key. Inside, it's not chaos, it's surgery. Papers are rifled, drawers emptied, but only the ones that might hold evidence. His grandfather's keepsakes, photos, letters, the old pocket knife from his army days are destroyed. Not stolen, just ruined, as if to carve the heart out of the fight. The message is loud, without a single word stop digging. Instead, he digs deeper. That's when Gina Martinez enters the picture, no relation to his lawyer, but just as important. She works in financial administration for Pinarest and has been watching the scheme unfold from the inside. When she hands over an envelope thick with internal memos, her hands shake like they're holding live ammunition. Inside, cold-blooded strategies targeting elderly owners, notes about Catherine's personal facilitation fees, and spreadsheets mapping out which parcels will flip fastest for profit. One memo reads, "Emotional attachment makes them vulnerable to pressure tactics, while limited resources prevent legal resistance." It's less a business plan than a predator's playbook. Armed with this, he organizes a mountain of documents for the upcoming HOA meeting. More than 100 neighbors turn out, triple the usual attendance drawn by whispers of corruption. Catherine takes the floor, first polished as ever, spinning community growth and enhanced value like a pro. But her eyes tighten when he starts speaking, laying out the chain of evidence, the fraudulent assessments, the insider committee appointments, the patterns stretching across multiple counties. The crowd shifts from polite to restless. Some gasp, some glare at Catherine, and a few glance nervously toward the exits. When she finally responds, it's not with denial, it's with a warning. You don't know who you're messing with, Mr. Walker. You're playing a dangerous game. Her tone is low, flat, and meant for his ears more than the room. But the community has heard enough to split the room into two camps, those ready to fight and those afraid of what a fight might bring. That night, Ben tells him the choice is his: walk away and cut his losses, or step into a battle with people who have more money, more lawyers, and fewer scruples than anyone he's met. He doesn't hesitate. The choice was made the moment they touched his grandfather's land. At dawn, his phone buzzes. Ben again, short on sleep, long on strategy. The FBI has looped in Special Agent Martinez. Subpoenas fly like confetti at a budget wedding. And suddenly Pinterest stops sounding like a spa and more like a door with hinges coming off. His heartbeat does a little tap dance. Even his coffee sits up straighter. Historians still argue whether justice arrives on time or just makes a dramatic entrance. But this morning it shows up with windbreakers and case numbers. The first domino is Tyler Morrison, the money man, with a suitcase full of exit plans. Agents catch him at the airport 40 minutes before wheels up to Switzerland. He surrenders so fast you'd think the handcuffs were on sale 2 for 1. In his panic, he trades spreadsheets for sunlight, and those ledgers sing like a choir: kickbacks, facilitation fees, maps of parcels targeted for optimization. Remember that scheme with a theme song? Turns out it also has choreography, wire transfers, jitterbugging through shell companies like they own the dance floor. Next comes Catherine. Dawn raid Lakefront mansion, the black sedan, finally useful as a landmarks app. She opens the door with the same chrome smile meant for boardrooms. It works about as well on federal warrants as crocodile dung sunscreen does on July pavement. Agents box up servers, thumb drives, 2 file cabinets, and a framed community leadership certificate that frankly starts blushing. Fringe tidbit: one cataloged item is a strategic growth vision board featuring a glitter glue arrow into his family's pasture, proof that arts and crafts can be menacing. By week's end, 50 agents execute coordinated seizures across 6 sites. Accounts freeze, boats and Benzies park themselves under new management, and that HOA checkbook learns the meaning of winter. The U.S. Attorney calls it systemic property fraud. Neighbors just call it about time. When the indictments land, the gallery gasps so hard the courthouse coffee, remember the pot not clean since the Carter administration, almost wakes up from its long nap. Jokes aside, assets, auction victims compensated, and his 200 acres walk home like a dog who finally found the right porch. Reform follows the headlines. County codes get patched. Notification rules now require real notice, not scavenger hunts behind bulletin boards. A state bill, people nickname it the Sterling Fix, makes special assessments actually, well, special. He marks the moment by opening a small legal aid office on the Ridge, a place where folks can learn the difference between a lien and a shakedown. Historians still argue whether one person can change a system or just start the rumor that it can, but here the rumor becomes roadbed, firm, graded, open for traffic. He stands where his grandfather once did, wind in the grass, case closed, gate unlocked. The theme song, new key, better chorus. He lingers on the Ridge a little longer than he needs to, listening for the small sounds that outlast paperwork: the creek ticking over stones, a nighthawk drawing soft lines across the pale sky, the almost silent breathing of the pasture as it settles into evening. The urgent edges of the week relax and flatten. Sentences slow down round their corners, take the longer road along the fence before coming home. He thinks about the names typed on old deeds, the careful loops and slanted signatures, and how a family can live inside ink for 100 years and still step out of it when the wind turns gentle. Lights begin to bloom along the far shore, not sharp points but quiet lanterns. And with each one he feels the weight of the fight ease a fraction, as if the land itself is releasing a held breath. He walks the path his grandfather cut, the one that bends around the cottonwoods, and returns to the porch like a faithful habit. And he can almost hear the laugh that used to meet him at the gate, low and warm, saying the evening will take care of the rest. The questions that once scratched at the door grow polite, then patient, then finally still. Somewhere a dog tags along, nails clicking softly, and the house greets them with an old wood smell that feels like a familiar song hummed under the floorboards. He leaves the porch light on, not to keep anything away, but to invite the easy kind of tomorrow, the slow coffee, the unhurried fence, check the promise to answer calls with a rested voice. If there is a lesson here, it doesn't shout, it settles, it folds, it smooths, and in smoothing it says, the work of keeping is quieter than the work of taking. The field agrees, the night agrees, he does too.